What is mindset? Our mindset is based on what we believe, and anything we believe in, we put into motion. I have spent my life putting the mindset of perseverance into motion, and now I am here today to share my journey along with others whose mindsets have changed the course of their lives. Hi, I'm mindset coach Lorraine Lindsey, and I believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. So are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of The Mindsetters, where we believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. We are in deep with our season 2 of The Mindsetters. I am your host, Coach Lorraine Lindsey. I am a certified mindset coach, peak performance coach, life coach. And before we get started on the show today, we are also on YouTube. So if you like the content, please subscribe, give us the thumbs up, send us your comments. We like to hear from you. Today, we are continuing our series on the mindset of success. And I am super excited for this very special guest. It's probably one of the most famous guests I've ever had. It is.
Hey.
So much history, and I'm so honored to be in company with someone who is a legend in the hip hop community, someone who represents such great music that is very nostalgic to my life, represented a lot from my life. But so without further ado, we have here on the show today, Mr. Chris Lorenzo, aka Chris Gotti.
Yes.
One of two for the famous Gotti brothers, founders of Murder Inc.
Shout out Irv.
Yeah, hey Irv, he needs to come in next time.
That's the little bruh.
So before we get into the history of Murder Inc., how that came to be, and who you are today, and it's all kind of tied into the mindset of success. Let's talk a little bit about what your current ventures are, your latest, greatest. You just recently started your own podcast.
Yes.
So that podcast show is called Giving Them the Business.
That's right.
And it's powered by your other venture. But tell us a little bit about your podcast.
So Giving Them the Business. At first, I want to say thank you for having me on. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate you being here.
Lorraine has been can I tell you how we met?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
She was my host. And she's been my host at the Venetian property out here. But she told me about her podcast and Mindsetters. The Mindsetters, that just says everything to me because that's my life and how I approach life and business. I didn't go to school. So really it was all about a mindset and in actually outworking people to learn the things that I needed to learn to accomplish what I did.
Well, I appreciate you.
And still accomplishing.
I know you're a very busy man, and for you to be here it means a lot to me. So I really, really appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've got this. You've got your podcasting going on, Giving Them the Business. Tell us a little bit about that with you and your partner.
So Giving Them Business was something we came up with. Don De Niro is my Latin president for Adventure Music, which is another venture we'll talk about. And he is for all independent artists. So he came to me and told me, let's do a podcast. Mind you, we had a radio show called El Punto de Spot. So everything I ever did, I was always trying to do it from a bilingual standpoint, black and brown, let's call it. And I was always trying to empower the black and brown communities to get this information, this knowledge in whatever area we was talking. So he said, let's do this podcast. I said, of course, after we didn't have the El Punto de Spot because of COVID, the place we had closed down. Mm-hmm. We was getting over 300-some thousand listeners at 11 at night.
Wow.
To 1 a.m. every Thursday.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's a digital radio show.
Wow.
That I own. I own about 28 independent digital radio stations across the country. Our biggest one is Highly Unique Radio. We get over 2 million uniques every month.
Wow.
That's pretty strong for internet radio. Very different from terrestrial radio. They can't tell you how many listeners are actually hearing our voice.
But with the digital, you guys have the capacity to do so.
I can tell you exactly how many people are listening at that very moment. So I get all the IP addresses and the locations. But once I converted, we said we're not going to go back to El Punto de Spot. I said, let's just convert to this podcast. And that was the birth of Giving Them the Business. And we are up only about a month and a half. A month right now. We have about 8 episodes out. We're getting well over 30,000 streams on on our episodes.
Well, that's
when we
just the
put out
beginning. Congratulations to that.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. Thank you. You know, it's just, again, it's the mindset. And it was like, once I start something, it's always about how am I going to get it? How am I attacking it? And that's what I just did with the podcast. Topics, you know, we go through the topics and everything. And I just know I have probably an interesting way of looking at business. Yeah.
Well, and a learned one too. I mean, you certainly have some history to do that. So before we get into your next venture, I kind of want to read a little bit about you and what's been going on in your life. So for those of you who are not familiar with Chris Gotti Lorenzo is a businessman of multifaceted accolades, as he's mentioned, starting with his career in the music industry as the co-founder of Murder Inc. Records. Yeah. Alongside with his brother, Irv Gotti Lorenzo, are known to have created and developed one of the most successful record labels in the industry to date.
Facts.
Absolutely. He also started a digital distribution company, which we're going to talk about, Ad Ventures Music.
Yes.
This platform was to develop and educate and empower all independent artists. You're teaching them how to own, monetize, and operate their music, which is so unusual, right, for a distribution company or a label even.
Well, that's what they are. I don't like, they're all independent labels. As an independent artist, you're your own label. You have to do everything. There's no one there to do it, and you're independent. One of the main things I do for Adventures is put the mirror up in front of each artist. I want them to understand it's about them, not me. So they have to have the mindset and how they want to attack their business, their goals, and how to achieve it. I have all the services they might need, all of the different partnerships they might need to actually get them to get what they're looking for. You know, in music, I don't know two artists' career that's the same. They all achieve success differently. So your path is your journey. This isn't a cookie cutter business. We can't, if it was, Universal would be bigger than Google. If it was a cookie cutter business, they have all the relationships and all the money. They can't do that. So they have a system. I'm giving you the system. You're a miniature Universal, so you should understand that as an independent artist and work from that standpoint. And
here's what I find very interesting as I kind of researched and looked up your company, Adventures, is that it's very innovative. I mean, other than it being a technologically based distribution company, which is kind of the new wave now, one of the things that have separated you all from other entities that are doing something similar is that you really are about education and empowerment. You want your artists to own, monetize, and operate their music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, in my career, in music, I'm 30 plus years into music business, but I've never been part of a company. I've been part of several successful businesses, but I've never been part of a company that is truly about only empowering artists. We don't think about, I made sure the mindset for everyone that works with me, that they're not thinking about what's better for us, for Adventure Music. It's very weird. And the better the artists do, naturally helps Adventure Music. I don't have to worry about taking advantage, doing a deal that doesn't make sense for an artist, but it does for me. Everything we do is to empower the independent artist that comes on the platform. That alone sets me head and shoulders above and apart from every other company. I could break down, I don't knock these other companies that exist, but they have a different business model, different strategy that they're trying to attain and go after for their goals.
And you have a different set of lenses with that because of the history. So I want to actually kind of take us back. So for those that don't know, where they understand how this inception came to be, right? So we're going to go back 1998. What is that, about 24 years ago?
Yeah.
Woo. Man, I can't believe it's been 24 years.
Time flies.
1998. You and your brother started the label Murder Inc.
Yes.
So originally, from my understanding, is that there was Russell Simmons and Leor Cohen, and that they were kind of the Def Jam.
Russell Simmons owned Def Jam. Leor actually worked for Russell.
Okay.
He was the CEO running the company the day to day. And that was a big problem, in my opinion, for Russell. Shout out Russell. You know, I grew up in Hollis, literally blocks away from Russell before any of this music stuff took off. He was doing incredible stuff with Run DMC and everybody in LL Cool J, which is all neighborhood guys that I knew from the neighborhood before the success. But at the end of the day, the only thing I say, he didn't really run the company, so Leor was the guy that ran the company.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And your brother was behind in it, and you can read about this now. He was really truly behind the success of we're talking about powerhouses, DMX,
Yes.
Jay-Z,
Yes.
Ja Rule, who ended up being a part of Murder Inc. Records.
Absolutely.
And
it's
so-
funny you say that because most people think Ja Rule started with Murder Inc. No, we got him a deal at Def Jam. And then we took him from Def Jam and they gave him back to us to put him on Murder Inc. So we ended up having Ja Rule.
Wow.
Yeah, people don't know that. Vena Veda Vici, his first album was strictly Def Jam. We made them put our imprint on it, like predicting the future.
Okay.
So they put Murder Inc. on it, but we didn't even have the company started yet.
Wow.
After Vena Veda Vici, we got the album, the label situated and set up, and then we got Ja Rule back for 336.
So what was, when we talk about mindset, right? Because that's incredible. What was the mindset at that time to get a label to succeed, right, with its artists? What was it that was the inspiration for you guys at that time?
Well, to go back to the essence of everything, the mindset was Irv is a producer. Irv is my little brother. He's 3 years younger than me. I took care of Irv in every sense of the word. You know, I am my brother's keeper. I financed him. I mean, kept the wolves off him. every bit of that. And then I built around what he wanted, which is he wanted to be the biggest producer in the game. His idol was Dr. Dre. He looked up to Dr. Dre. He was the best, still is the best. Dr. Dre, again, incredible person, talent, everything. We got to meet him.
I love Dre, yeah.
And Irv was like, I want to be as big as Dr. Dre or bigger. And Irv had a company called Top Dog Productions. I actually was doing construction when he went out with Top Dog. And I built out an incredible construction business. We was doing well over $30 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you walk away from that to...
I walked away from that business.
Then there's a mindset in and of itself. What was the mindset to tell yourself, this is worth me?
It's one of my regrets. First, let me say that. And meaning I should have still kept both going, but I didn't think at that moment, at that time, my mindset wasn't, I did both at the same time. So in the daytime, construction, I have to be on the job at 7 a.m, finish at 3:30, all outside. This is all city work, union jobs. This is, we had to bid on the job, get it, and then do the work. So it was my crew doing all this work. And then the problem was at night, music, have to learn the business. So when you say mindset, mindset is there's no plan B. The mindset was there is no plan B first. That was
burn the boats basically.
And in order to be successful in music, I had to learn construction. I have to now learn music.
Right.
And I built everything but a bridge. I mean, in my construction career. I mean, I'm proud of that because some of those buildings, parks, schools that I built are still there back in New York. And we go out and I start burning. I did that for about 1.5 to 2 years before I burnt out. I started getting into accidents, falling asleep driving.
Oh.
Yeah, it was crazy because I wouldn't get no sleep.
Because you were on the other end building this empire.
Yes, but just imagine you leave music at say 4 a.m. to get to work at 7 a.m. So you take your little shower and you're not getting any rest, and then you got to drive from construction back to the studio or to the office, whichever it was.
Right. Get
a little rest in between there. Again.
So what was the drive? What was the mindset to keep that going for you at that time?
There's no plan B. There was no plan B. And I believe if you want to be successful in anything, you shouldn't look at anything else. So mind you, I have a business that's making money.
Wait, say that one more time. That's good. In order for you to be, or if you really want to be successful in something.
Yeah. You shouldn't be looking at anything else. It should be focused, tunnel vision. My brother used to hit me with the blinkers all the time. I'll give you that story down the road because that was with Ashanti and we was already successful with Ja Rule, but I'll come back to that. But,
so how did you know, at what point did you all know that Murder Inc. had really...
Murder Inc. wasn't established. We was just a production company called Top Dog Productions, and Irv wanted to be the biggest and best producer. And I took him, he had one producer, Little Rob, shout out Little Rob, that he had worked with. And we was there. And the problem with Little Rob was he made incredible music, but not a lot.
Okay.
So again, just think business, supply and demand.
Right.
It's very simplistic mindset, right? Supply and demand. We didn't have enough supply.
Yeah.
Irv became hot and everyone wanted a beat from him, but we didn't have enough. He would make 4 beats, I'd sell 4 beats, but then we're out. Right. And I go to Irv and I tell him, and he was getting $5,000 at this time, a track. And I tell Irv, I said, man, we can't grow like this. I said, and it's not enough money for me. I was making more in construction.
Right.
And I can't live with that little $5,000 and Irv gets his and I get my fee. That's not enough.
So how did you switch? How did the transition?
That's where it was at. And
Uh-huh.
I went to Irv. That was the switch. When I told Irv, that's not going to do it. He said, I don't care what you do. Just fucking do. I'm not taking less than 5,000 a track. Done. And that's what I did. I went and found producers. And knowing when I put these talented people with my brother, who is someone I already identified as one of one, as far as talent goes, I knew it would be combustion. And sure enough, we went from 5,000 to like 15,000 to 25,000 to 50,000 to 100,000 in less than 6 months.
Wow.
So I took them from 5,000 to 100,000 in 6 months. In the next year, I took them from 100,000 to 250,000 per song.
Wow.
Per song.
That's incredible.
And he became the biggest producer in the game. And that's what led to Tommy Mottola at Sony Records. He called us to buy beats.
Wow.
He tells us, come to Justin's, which was Puffy's restaurant. We go to Justin's and Puffy's restaurant to meet up with Dave McPherson, his vice president, to talk about selling beats. And when we get there, Dave McPherson pulls out a contract and says, we don't want to buy beats. We want to give you a record label.
Wow.
And that's
what was that moment like though?
So again,
were you like thinking in your mind like this is where it's gonna lead? Or
we had no clue.
You had no clue.
That's what happens when your tunnel vision is set. You're only looking at the goal. Become the biggest and best producer, which we did.
Absolutely.
And you're saying we're not saying we're not the biggest and best. We were saying we want to set the bar even bigger. Higher for someone coming behind us, that harder to become. And then before we finished, that's when Tommy comes in and says, I want to give you a record label. And Irv, as a man, his poker face is incredible. He takes the contract, skims it over and throws it back and says, if you're serious, here's our lawyer, send it to our lawyer. And we leave. When we get outside, there's a commercial, the Toyota, what a feeling.
Yeah.
And we jumping up, we're like, oh man. We had no clue or idea. But the next problem was, what's the name of the label? We had no name because we didn't plan it.
And is it true? Because I heard that there was a mob movie or something on, and he's like, that's what it's going to be, Murder Inc.
Every time we tell the story, I swear to you, I get goosebumps. You can see them. Irv was watching Arts and Entertainment, the A&E channel.
Okay, yeah.
And it's Gangsta Week.
I love A&E, by the way.
Yeah, it's Gangsta Week. And the real Murder Inc. it's the Mafia guys, Albert Anastasia, Luca Luciano. These guys formed a group called Murder Inc., but they was making hits, like killing people. And that's how the intro to
I
this.
get it, making hits. Okay, yeah.
That's the intro, is the Tommy gun, da-da-da-da-da, and it's the Notorious Murder Inc. There was a narrator, and that's how he's talking, the Notorious Murder Inc. And they made hits. And Irv went crazy.
I love it.
Calls me up, tells me to watch A&E, turn on A&E, turn on A&E. I turn it on, and I see it when the next commercial comes in, because that's how they started each time when it came from commercial. And he's like, that's what we do. We make hits. We fucking make hits.
I love it.
And that's Murder Inc. That's the birth of the name of Murder Inc. And the rest is
And
history.
we're talking big names. We're talking Ja Rule, Ashanti. You guys signed
Even
Charlie
Lloyd.
Baltimore, Christina Milian.
Well, we didn't sign Christina. We built her career in music.
Okay.
See, what happened is because Irv was basically the goose that laid the golden egg because of all these records we created, all these hit records. So every label would call him. We'd call them just to come basically break their artists, give them a hit record. Irv is in the Guinness Book of World Records. I believe it's 48 weeks out of 52 at number one.
Wow.
And that's every record that he produced took over another record he produced and stayed at number one for 48 weeks in a year.
Wow.
That's, to me, is amazing. I don't know if that record would ever get touched, but that to me is unbelievable.
Of course. Absolutely it is.
And if you do that in music, right, there's nothing you couldn't get, and that's where we was at.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this then. Today's market, right? You have this this is like history of hip hop, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
East
honestly,
Coast hip hop for sure.
It's even like like surreal that I'm actually having this candid conversation with you about it, because that music, I mean, 98 was when I graduated from high school, and just the scene was all about Murder Inc. Records.
Yes.
That was the music that was like popping off. But artistry and labels and distribution was a lot different than it is today.
Yes.
Right?
Completely.
So different. So my question then for you is,
labels cared then to build an artist. They don't
and do you
today.
think though that labels are going to at some point phase out, or will they always have to be a part of music?
That's the goal. That's my goal, is to get rid of all the record labels. There's no need for them. You know, when you look at what they do for an artist, it's only a check. That's all they do. Again, services, I could do everything they do.
Mm-hmm.
All the relationships, I have them. So I'm not one of one. There's other people like me that have all these relationships and they could do these services or outsource those services. You know, when the internet came in, the record labels was going crazy because the money was dropping. They didn't know how the piracy and all of these things was going to change. And they was going crazy. So they start firing everyone. The dumbest thing they ever did was they would fire the marketing people and say, we'll outsource you. They would fire the promotional people and say, we'll outsource you to cut costs from paying insurances and salary. We'll only use you product by product. And the reason that was so stupid is because now anyone could go hire these experts that roll out the biggest projects in the world.
They were the experts.
You could go pay for them.
Right. If it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really was the door that opened up, that crack in that window that you could get through, you know what I mean? To actually do what I do with Adventure Music.
And okay, so to that, why then now, not that it never was, but why is it so important that these independent artists are educated? Because you said educated and empowered, but with education comes empowerment, right?
You know, there was a commercial, Charles Schwab, and he back in the investment commercial, and he said it was an old man in a pipe smoking a pipe, and he said our educated consumer is our best customer. I believe that statement rings true, especially in music. So I don't believe the artist should be the person to know everything, honestly, and I'm not trying to take advantage of him. I just believe God made us a certain way. Half of our brain is creative, half of it is analytical. Right. So they're using their creative side, and it's very weird to get a person with that creativity to be able to understand the analytical
It's kind of like
side.
the E-Myth. Have you ever heard of the book, The E-Myth?
Yes.
The E stands for entrepreneurial myth, and there's three components. There's the entrepreneur, the creative energy. There's the manager, and then there's the technician. Mm-hmm. And so it's about the synergy of that all, but you can't be all of them.
Yeah, and I challenge people when they say that's not right. I said, they tell me, look at Jay-Z. I said, yeah, look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z was all creative when he started.
Right.
He had a team to help him do all the business. Did he learn the business? Absolutely. On his time, he learned the business. But he still, to this day, he's the creative. He has a team. You know, go through any artist, and again, when they have that problem with, let's say, their manager or someone that they said was taking advantage of, again, you just put the power in the wrong hands of the people that you know. My brother, I use myself and my brother, Irv never had to look at me from that capacity. And I said, if I made a mistake, it was only because I was trying to do something to benefit him, not to hurt him. And that's what, if you have the right person, that's the only, when they do make a mistake, we all make them. It's only because they're trying to better you, not because they're trying to do something to hurt you.
And you talk about this team, and when you are this, like the star quality, we talked about this off camera about people having that quote unquote it factor.
Yeah.
When you are that creative entity and you don't have the education or you don't have the understanding, and you talk about building a team, how does one know who they can trust, who they can't trust, who's going to be a good team player?
You ever see Spike Lee and Mo Better Blues? And he was picking every game as a gambler. He's like, and then start picking every game.
Hilarious.
But honestly, okay, there's been so many artists that there's no formula. You go instinctively. Now, there are qualities you look for sonically, sound-wise, because you want to be unique. You want someone that's different. I don't want to just cookie cut the same artist. That's
right.
It's like we heard that already. What story are you bringing that's different? What energy are you coming with that's different from the one before that? And then, of course, talent. Like, can you really sing? Right now, mind you, there's hugely successful artists that probably can't really sing.
Well, that's a big thing now, especially with so much digital There's
technology.
Well, I've heard different stories of
we can
specific
get you in the
artists.
booth to make that record right now.
Man, I can sing. What you talking about? You've never heard me. All I gotta do is scale back about 20 years and I'll be good to go. But seriously, I mean, you've heard about the some of the powerhouses now that are artists and singers, but their voices are dubbed and other stronger voices are behind them. Christina Milian did a lot of background voices for some artists. Yeah,
absolutely. I look at today and it's kind of sad in my opinion because let's say one of my favorite artists was Whitney Houston. I don't think she would be the same today, as weird as that may sound.
And why?
Because the sound is different. That vocal, you don't hear it. You don't, again, now Adele did it, but you have to find that audience that wants that, with that vocal, that voice that's just amazing without the digital. She's real in real life. You know what I mean?
Right,
she's hot in real life. She doesn't need the extra. Same with rapping. The art form changed, the styles changed, but nothing stays the same. And I'm not knocking these young artists, super creative. I mean, I watch them. They're super creative. They make records differently. Differently doesn't mean better or worse. It just means it's different. And I'm open to that as let's say an OG in the game. I'm never knocking these young guys because the young guys are going to change the world.
And when we talk about distribution, for example, I mean, back in the day, there was a limited amount of distributors, correct?
Yes.
And now you've got these digital distributions and you've got these streaming companies. And then you've just got artists that are literally popping up every other day or every day.
Tens of millions of artists.
Social media.
Tens of millions of independent artists in the United States.
How do you all in this industry sift through that much volume? Because before an artist, not to knock the hustle of the artists now, but I mean, literally you had artists that were selling their records out of trunks of their cars.
Absolutely. So labels today is more like a stock market. Let's say it's like an investment brokerage firm, and they're just looking at the hot trends on the internet, the analytics, and that's how they sign these artists. If they're not real, they don't want them. If they're real, let's go get them, because then they know they could take that fan to fire and exploit it to another level to make them stars. But the reality is I've never seen anyone that can make someone like a record to this day. Now, they keep telling me there's some AI computer technology coming. That's exactly what's going to happen. But then that changes. I said, we're all individuals. I hear something. I know if I like it or not. Now, there's patterns when people like things more and more. But at the end of the day, that's the X factor that gives everyone an equal shot at all levels. The only thing that's not equal is resources being put into something to get it to as many people as possible. But I tell everyone, I can't make people like your record. I have way more no's or losses than wins. You just know the wins, because all you need is one to change everything.
Right.
It's about persistence, mindset. It's all of that tied into why I keep going. Like I said, I don't lose. I will not lose. That's me and Irv. We will not lose.
So with Adventures,
yes,
being that it is a digital distributor, in that type of dynamic, are you doing something similar that you did when you had Murder Inc., like looking for that breakout star through your digital distribution, or it's just its own thing?
No.
And why then is it important to educate and empower people who sign up for ABM? Because
you need to understand what you need to do as an independent artist. How could you be independent and expect me to make your choices? That's not independent.
Right.
How could you be independent and expect me to pay for it? That's not independent. These are your challenges as an independent artist. You get all these artists with all these different cases, and they say, oh, they own my masters. Listen to me, it's business. The business at hand. When you signed that deal, you probably thought it was a great deal. It turned out you got very successful. Your fault is you didn't go back and adjust your deal, which every executive will do, because you're successful. You're no longer this artist that started. You're here. Okay, let's fix that deal, and you'll get changes. The other part is there's nothing for life. You have X amount of albums to do or X amount of years to do, and then you're free. Go do that, and that's it. I know a ton of artists that are doing extremely well with their deals because they do the things I'm talking about.
Right.
Don't be mad because you got people in your ear telling you, oh, you should be getting this and that, but you didn't. You signed something at this level. Don't let that be the distraction for why you become successful.
Right.
Once you're finished with your deal, you do whatever you want. But, when you take that money, there's something attached to that.
Right.
So don't ever think it's for free. And if you understand that, then you'll be in a better place. And that's what I do with this company. I teach you that there's nothing. Again, you want these services. I'm not paying for it. It's your money. It's you own everything. Welcome to my world. Pay for it. People want to be entrepreneurs and don't understand what it really takes.
It's all mindset. It goes back to the whole mindset.
This is why I'm telling you, when I heard the name, I said, exactly right. This is spot on for all business entrepreneurs, anything you're doing in life, even if you're just going to the gym and working out. That mindset to go work out and consistently do it, you have to have it or you'll never do it.
So now I'm going to ask you a personal question then.
Go ahead.
All right. So my question for you is...
I didn't do it. Go ahead.
Be quiet, Chris. On a personal note, what would you say is the biggest constant mindset that you have maintained that contributes to your success? What is the constant mindset that you keep at the forefront?
Number one is I didn't go to school. Once you hit into these levels that I'm in, I'm only dealing with guys that went to these huge schools, all these accolades and things. I have no intimidation or fear, but I use that as my mindset to make me feel I have to outwork them, outmaneuver them. And in being, let's say, if I'm dealing with a huge company, let's say I'm dealing with Google, there's things that they will not do that I can do. I take a negative to a positive constantly because of the freedoms that I have. And that's what I try to empower.
So you find your value in everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Again, they can't maneuver. I don't believe that anyone could learn anything more than me. And maybe Elon Musk, he has a different advantage because I'm not talking about quantum theories and physics and things of that nature. When we're talking business, there's nothing I couldn't do. And I've did an eclectic amount of companies. I was part of a sale of a company called on Discovery Channel bought us, and it was How Stuff Works. It was an internet company, a website. I did something called Lid Rock, where we was putting miniature CDs on top. All successful businesses that we sold and made money on. I was with a guy named Jeff Arnold. He created WebMD. Super smart guy.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Super smart guy.
That's everybody's doctor. Jeff. That's everyone's doctor these days.
Exactly.
Everyone who says they got something. Well, I was on WebMD and it says I got this.
You want to know how something works.
Yeah.
Go to
it's a great site. Yeah.
He built How Stuff Works, and I was part of that. Lid Rock, he did it. I was part of that.
But one of the things I heard you say, not to interrupt you, was that really stood out to me was that you were like, listen, I didn't have an education, but you weren't afraid to be around people who were level up people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big mindset that I talk about on the show quite a bit, is that the people say, surround yourself with like-minded people. Yeah. But I feel like at times that could be a paralytic, right? If I'm like-minded and I'm with people who are just like my mind, I'm not going anywhere in that space. Or because of our insecurity, sometimes we want to be in the group where we're superior in the group. And that doesn't grow you too. And you have to have the mindset to be around people who will elevate you.
Any of my employees, my staff, my team, I call them team. If any of my team was here, they would tell you, from the janitor to whoever, I don't care about a title. I would tell everyone, goes back to Murder Inc. days. I never cared. In construction, it goes back to construction. I never cared about a title. I was the owner. Me and my sister, we owned the company. I would be in that hole, digging that hole. Inspectors would come and they'd be like, where's the supervisor? And I'd jump out the hole and say, that's me. And then he said, what do you mean? They thought I was playing. They would say, where's this person? And I come back to him and say, yeah, that's me. And then, I'm going to tell you, I said, yeah, I'm the owner. And they would never believe it. They would understand it, but that's the mindset. I would do anything.
And where do you think that mindset came from?
My dad. It came from my dad. He worked his ass off. God bless the dead. You know what I'm saying? Poppy, I know you with me. But at the end of the day, he worked all the time. He never complained. He, no education, 8 kids. It's 8 of us. Mom and dad, all they had for us is love. Mom and dad was together for 60 plus years before he passed. End of the day, that's all he showed us. We grew up, I did all types of crazy shit, but my work ethic was always there. You said, why was you here early? Because I was here early because once you, no, seriously,
I'm working on it, okay?
It's a mindset. It's
you're
instilled in
right.
me. It's instilled in me and it won't change. It's like I said, I'm coming, I'm here. If I wasn't coming, something, God forbid, happened, you would have been getting calls like I'm apologizing. I respect everyone's time, everything. And again, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't care, good or bad, we finish.
So, okay, my next question. What do you believe to be the greatest mindset to forge ahead with success? So if you were to talk to an artist or just a person that is feeling stuck, what would you say their biggest mindset needs to be for them to forge ahead to get kind of past that hurdle or that feeling of being stuck? Because I think a lot of people strive for success, right? And yet they get kind of in these places and these spots where they just get stuck somewhere.
Well, it starts, that to me is, as an entrepreneur, all these people are entrepreneurial in their endeavors that they're chasing. And when you sleep and go to bed and you're by yourself, I mean, your mind is your hardest thing to get over. We create all these walls and barriers internally,
right,
before we even come outside. And, it's all about that belief. I deal with De Niro, my partner. He's a what they call a Babalawo, which is a high priest in a religion called Ifa.
Okay.
It's probably the oldest religion in the world. Not probably, is. It's over 10,000 years old. All these religions are inside it. It's from Nigeria. But the reason I bring it up is because it's a mindset. That religion is all about the way you think you could achieve whatever you want. It's all about what you manifest internally first. Then it comes to fruition. And I live my life like that. But when I heard it from him, it really kind of struck a chord. So it's really, you have to have that belief, self-belief. If anyone watched Kanye, he was filming himself saying, this is for MTV. He was lying.
Right.
He was like, he had his cameraman following him. He's like, yeah, this is for MTV. I don't know if anyone's seen Along Came Polly. They did the same thing in that movie. It's one of the funniest movies with Ben Stiller. And the guy, his friend, was like, he was an old star. And he's like, oh, they're doing an E! Hollywood story on me. But he was lying.
Right.
And Kanye was lying, but in his mind, he already
saw
seen
it. Well, the same thing what you said earlier with Murder Inc. with Ja Rule.
Yes.
And you were all like, let's put this label on here before he was even a part of that label.
We seen it already.
So you see the vision and you stay focused on that vision.
And you have to believe in yourself first. No one else. You could get other people, like, again, I talk about Kanye a lot because that documentary really exposed a lot of qualities that I feel anybody in any entrepreneurial space needs to know and believe and do and see what he did, because he did it and had it documented, which is the weirder part. It's easy for me to come and talk
and tell the story. I could be lying. He lived it. Right.
He did it, and we seen it real time because this guy recorded. That to me is amazing. Imagine if we had all the moments of Steve Jobs, all the moments of Bill Gates, and see their trials and tribulations, or even Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. They tell their story, but physically seeing it's another.
Yeah, it was like you said. It's pretty incredible because I've been watching it, and even those candid moments with his mother, or the time when he's at the label with Damon Dash and he's got his the CD in the boombox, and
they're like, "Could you leave? I got a meeting."
Yeah, and I'm like, "Wait, but that's that song." I mean, this is like his.
And he's like, "This is it."
Oh, it is. And
again, they have to have that. He had that belief in himself, and he never let that doubt, and I'm sure it was there, stop him.
Right.
You have to find past the doubt. Whatever you're doing, I don't care. If you believe it, you have to go. You cannot lose. It sounds corny. You cannot lose until you stop. Right?
No, it doesn't sound corny.
People say that that might be an Instagram meme or whatever. This is but it's real. It's so true. You cannot lose until you quit. And then once you quit, you lost. And now you have to do something differently. But things evolve, things change, and that's what persistence gets you. And you have to be you got to have the wherewithal to know how to adjust and pivot. And that's what life is. It's about adjusting and pivoting throughout life. So it's no different with business.
I love that. All right. So this is my last question I have for you.
Okay.
What has been your greatest lesson?
I can't say that publicly. We could talk off here.
Oh, it's that deep, huh?
It's really this.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm going to say this. Me personally, everything I was taught was a lie.
Wow.
Imagine that. And and that's the truth. Everything taught was a lie. And I had to readjust. And I have a mother that's 88. Shout out Nene. You know what I'm saying? And if I listen to my mother, she's a black woman from the South, 88 years old, I would have never did anything.
Wow.
Because she was all concerned about staying safe. Don't do that. Oh, anything you said. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Oh, no, don't. Chris, what are you talking? Wait, no. everything, without even realizing the programming she's been dealt with.
Wow.
For 88 years.
That's
she would
profound.
tell me, you think you guys had it rough. She said, I would wake up, come outside, and someone's hung on a pole. So that adjustment, that's my mother, not my grandmother.
Right.
People don't understand about me. So you said something that people don't know. That is something that's in me that's very important. When I say I'm doing this for the black and brown, which is the Spanish and the black people, that's exactly what I'm doing. It's about educating them. I go into the inner cities of all these hoods, neighborhoods. People say, why are you going there? You're Chris Gotti. What are you doing? I can make more money going other places, but that's what needs it the most.
Right.
We had a big federal trial, and the feds came to my door. They would come almost every other day trying to get me to cooperate, which would never happen. I'm not a cooperator. So they would come in, and they would tell me, why are you hiring all ex-cons? Why are you hiring these people? And I said, why do you care?
Right.
I said, I'm saving lives. Maybe yours.
You're right.
Let that sink in. And I said, but you're complaining. I should be getting an award. We was doing over $200 million a year. This is not no little organization.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, but why are you doing that? Why are you telling me this? Like, I'm saving lives. These guys now own houses. They're working. They're productive. They're citizens paying taxes. What's the problem?
Right.
And they just look at me. I would go to the clubs, and they would be outside of the club. I would invite them in for drinks. I don't drink. There's no one in the world that spent more money buying liquor that doesn't
drink.
And I don't drink.
Yeah.
So I would go to these clubs, and I would tell them, come get a drink. Let them see. I'll go in there with 30, 40 dudes. Some girls, of course, but it's 30, 40 of us. Go in, maybe spend $40,000, $50,000 in the club. Come out, they're still standing there. And I would go at them. I would tell them, don't be mad at me. You picked the wrong job. That I blew your fucking year's salary just now. You're mad because I could do that? And all I'm doing is showing people in the neighborhood that I grew up in another way of life legitly, okay? Legitimately. This is from legal money, not from nothing else. And you could do it. You could live this life doing this. And one of the biggest things, you mentioned Floyd. Floyd's a dear friend. Shout out Floyd.
Hi, Floyd.
So what I did, I took all these boxes from Brownsville. There's about 12 of them. They was, with all inner city kids. I flew them first class out to Vegas, let them watch Floyd train, okay? And we got ringside tickets to his fight. And I gave them suites so they could order whatever they wanted.
Nice.
I just wanted them to see, and we did it in the Bellagio, no disrespect to the Venetian.
Okay. I don't know neither, so it's all good.
And again, to this day, all them kids cannot believe I did that for them, and they're all very successful today. But I wanted them to see how you could get this the right way. You don't need to be in the street. This is all legitimate money. Floyd talked to them, did everything, let them see him train before his fight, the whole thing. They took pictures, everything. When I hit my pinnacle of where I'm going, or there's a number in my head, when I hit it, this is going to be one of my philanthropy things. I'm going to take inner city kids to travel, because one of the biggest things that I found in my life is when I went overseas and left the country and got to see these other countries, Europe and everything. And I mean, Russia, everywhere. Shout out for Ukraine. God bless y'all, man, right now.
Yeah, of course.
But when I went to all these different countries, I seen different poverty, lifestyles, things that was told about these countries was not true. Africa, not true. Again, all lies. It's crazy. And I'm like, man, so that's the education that I got. I want to do that for all the inner city kids. I want them to see that.
It touches my heart. It really does. And I say that because even myself, part of me even doing this show, The Mindsetters, because I grew up in the streets. I was homeless as a child, you know, and I do remember specifically a situation in my neighborhood where someone had been killed, and there was fire and police and and all that good stuff, and there was a fire truck alongside the building, and I was more intrigued by the fire truck than the mayhem that was going on in the neighborhood because I was used to it.
Right.
And the police and
Which
everybody.
is sad, right?
It's sad, but we
It's
were
so
invisible.
sad.
We were
the
invisible.
amount of deaths I've seen in my life is unreal.
And it was part of the culture, the place, the environment that I was in. But I remember this fireman, I'm looking at the truck and the fireman yelled at me. He said, "What are you doing? Are you looking at my truck?" And I got scared because they never saw us.
Right.
And that fireman, I kind of like cowered and I looked at him and said, "Yes." He goes, "Don't look at it, get on." And he picked me up and he put me on that fire truck and he showed me all the cool thing. And he asked me, he said, "Do you want to be a firefighter when you get older?" And I didn't even know that was a possibility for my life. And I remember asking him, "Who, me?" And he's like, "Little girl, you can do anything you want." And that in and of itself really, truly changed the trajectory of my life because I ended up being an EMT. I became a firefighter cadet.
Right.
I did all that stuff because of this one person who I'll never, ever probably see again in my life had that kind of an impact. So for me, I say all that to say to you what you are doing. Here you are, this mogul. I mean, you and your brother were pinnacle pioneers in hip hop. You guys are legends, and to make all this money, you could have easily have just walked away and lived the lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Sure.
But to come back and even still with adventures, to say I'm a contributor. All of this platform and everything I'm doing is to contribute. And I'm telling you from my own personal experience, just those things that you're describing to do for these kids that don't see a way, it's profound and it's impactful. So thank you for doing that.
I'm not stopping, so they got me.
I love it. I love it. So before we go, first of all, again, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Man, this was so good. And you've actually given me so many nuggets, because one of the things that my takeaways from this interview was what you said about focusing. And because I have a tendency to think I could do it all. And I try to do it all at the same time.
People do it all once they kill one thing, you could now accomplish all the other things.
And so that's
like the biggest misconception because they look at these celebrities that are doing this. I'm like, they didn't start there.
Right.
They got there. You have to get there. And then you could do everything. But get one thing that gives you your stability, your foundation. And Bill, when you said the podcast is powered by Adventure Music, that's my stability at Venture Music.
Gotcha.
Now I could add on and do a podcast. And that's what I'll keep adding on new things to empower independent artists with information and knowledge.
So before we conclude, what would be your final thought for people listening out there, hearing your story and really wanting to have a level of success which equates to fulfillment? What would you give them? What would be your takeaway?
Man, don't stop. Puffy said it best. I thought I told you that we won't stop. Puffy said to the year 10,000. He was, again, mindset. It's a mindset, and that's why this is a great platform here. Congratulations with it.
Thank you.
And I'm sure once you keep going, you're going to get every guest you want.
I appreciate that.
Manifest it. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Well, look, you're sitting here.
Absolutely, and that's going to add the value. It starts with one.
Yes.
It always starts with one. The most simplest things start from one. You get to 2, 4 equals 5, 5 equals 10. It just starts jumping and growing, and you just have to understand that. And like you said, I heard you say that I was your biggest guest, and I'm like, wow, that's great. But it's going to be a lot more to come behind it.
I appreciate that.
And I'll promote it and they're going to see it. But really, don't stop whatever you're doing. Just, again, you have to pivot and adjust. Again, timing is the number one reason for all successful businesses. Timing. I tell artists that all the time because they might have the most incredible record today, but it's not, the world's not ready for it today, right? So let's say Drake just dropped a record. He swallowed up market share. No one cares about your little record right now at this moment. So the timing is off. And we used to tell, when we was on top of the world with Murder Inc., we would tell all of the friends in our industry, we're dropping April 1st, don't come out. Because they know we're about to own the industry for that moment with all the time. Right? Think of magazines. There's only 12 covers. It's a limited amount of things. So all of these big platforms that you want to get on, everyone's attention will be on me if that's the case. And you have to understand that. That's something we learned early.
That makes sense.
Timing of it. Why did you pick the time to start your podcast? The timing of it is everything. And then how to keep moving it forward and staying focused on it with your adjusting and pivoting because times change. So you have to be open to you have to be open-minded to be able to adjust and pivot.
Well, I thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's has been a true pleasure for
Thank
you
you
to be on the show. So,
And I'll be at the Venetian later.
Okay, perfect. We'll have some cocktails. Or you don't drink. I'll have a cocktail and you'll have some,
Well, I drink with you. I do social
every
drinking.
once in a while.
Social drinking.
Yeah,
If you drink,
yeah.
I'll have one.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you.
All right, no problem.
All right. Well, thank
you.
you guys for watching this amazing episode of The Mindsetters. And again, subscribe, give us your comments. Let us give us some feedback. Let us know what you think about today's show. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Holla.